So today on the Hendon HFCTV YouTube channel, we go back in time when Hendon won the Middlesex Charity Cup final at Wembley Stadium on Thursday, the 2nd of June, 1988. Now, the competition that season was sponsored by the astrologer Russell Grant. So, of course, it was a huge thrill for all of us to see Hendon playing at Wembley Stadium. Some of us hadn't been there before. I'm delighted to say that I'm joined by the goalkeeper on the night, the centre forward on the night, Dave Roode and Colin Tate. Hi, guys. How are you?
Yeah, really good, thank you.
Very well, Steve.
Good. It's lovely. It's lovely to see you both. Colin, we still see you at Silver Jubilee Park from time to time as you're a sponsor with your company, PP Wealth. And Roode, we see you once a year when we can play football, of course, when we all remember Dermot Drummie. But so the competition that year, Colin, you'd left us, I think, maybe under a little bit of a cloud. You'd gone to Harrow Borough at that point. Talk us through what happened there.
Well, I'd been with the club since '85. Gary Hand signed me in 1985, and yeah, I played right the way throughout until I suppose the beginning of the '87-'88 season, I think. And then I left and went to arch rivals Harrow Borough, which in hindsight was a dreadful move for me personally. And kept in touch with Ronnie and Ronnie Duke and Mickey James and all the rest of it and the other guys. And I just, I left, and then I suddenly got a call up towards the end of the season, right at the end of the season. Bearing in mind it was June that we played that final, to join up with the squad. And I was lucky enough to get selected to play in the final game ahead of Mickey Kiley, which I think, as you know, he hasn't let me forget that for about 30 years now.
Well, we'll come back to you as a glory hunter a little bit later on, because
yes,
because Paul Roode was playing in all the glamour games in the run up to the final. So, Roode, I don't know if your memory goes back this far. 21st of December, and bear in mind, I think it was fair to say that the Middlesex Charity Cup at the time was, I think, one of 7 competitions we played in, and it was the least important. So our run started 21st December '87, home v Haringey Borough. We won 3-0, helped by, I think, one of their players being sent off around about a half time. Ian Dowie scored 2, and we'll talk about him, a real Hendon legend, a bit later. Neil Wolstenholme scored, Brucey, with 10 minutes to go to make that 3-0 scoreline. What do you remember about him?
Neil, Eki as he was called. Ronnie Duke named him Eki. He was a great lad, really nice lad. Quite quiet, but just got the job done. Wasn't the loudest in the dressing room, but he could hold his own. But he was a good lad, good player.
So I don't know what happened to him. The interesting thing in that first game was that we had both Dowie brothers playing, Bob and Ian, and of course Bob finished up managing us as well. The other thing that was notable, guys, that you probably may not know is that after the game, the then Haringey chairman, Tony Beattie, met with the then Hendon chairman, Charles Geary, and it ultimately led to Tony Beattie taking over as Hendon chairman the night of the cup final. So there you go. Just a little fact. So in we go so we're through round 1. We go off to round 2. It's a quarter final. We're away to Hayes. We win 1-0. Dowie scored again. Would you remember that far back, Roode?
I don't remember. If I'm honest, I don't. I remember obviously the final, but I don't remember the lead-up games. If I'm honest. Okay.
So quickly then onto the semi-final, which we won 4-1. Wolstenholme scored again. Dowie scored again, and Dermot scored again. So we get to the final. It is Thursday night, June the 2nd, 1988. So we're all in ecstasy that Russell Grant has decided to sponsor the competition and to pay for Wembley Stadium. For both of you, Colin, was that the first time you'd ever played at Wembley? Possibly the only time?
Yeah, the only time. And I still, look back with fond memories. And Dave and I were talking earlier, and you cannot be overwhelmed with the history of the place, and walking onto the pitch before the game and thinking, you know, who's played here, who's scored here, you know, all of those thoughts running through your head with the Twin Towers and what have you. It was just a wonderful, wonderful occasion. It's like a boyhood's dream, isn't it, to play there? So thankfully, you know, Russell Grant has sponsored it and enabled us to play there in the final, which was an extra incentive, I suppose, for the lads to get there.
And Ruta, you're in the tunnel. Could you quite believe that it was happening?
No, not really, because we waited, as you said, with it being June, we waited, it seemed like a lifetime, because the season finished, what would have been the first week in May, I think, if I'm right. And then, you know, you've got till June, and we kept coming in training, we kept keeping things ticking over. And then the day come, and, you know, how many people can say they played at Wembley? You know, not that many. And how many people have kept a clean sheet there? Well, I'm in that list, and no one can ever take that away from me. And it is, as Tate said, about when you watch the FA Cup final as a kid, and you see the people walking out into that crowd and into that stadium, you know, it's what you dream of. And fortunately, I got that dream fulfilled on that day, and it was, and still is. You know, it's an amazing feeling.
So, guys, did you like? Was it like almost like a normal day for you? Did you like both go to work? How did the kind of day pan out? And did the club kind of, I can't remember, did the club kind of coach you from Claremont Road to Wembley? How did all that happen?
I think we got a coach. Was we in for the day, Tate? I actually can't remember.
No,
we got a coach.
I was at work. I can distinctly remember being at work.
Right.
And
so we would have just met at the ground as normal then.
Yeah, because it was literally round the corner, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You know, in terms of the coach. So yeah, I remember meeting at the ground, and you know, we all sort of said hello and hooked up again, and got on the coach, and off we went. And you know, approaching Wembley Stadium, which is normally some place that you drive past rather than drive to, it was quite astonishing, really. But terrific, absolutely terrific.
So when you went into the ground for the first time, what was your kind of thoughts? You're looking around. It must have been amazing.
I think going in the dressing room was just like, you know, unbelievable to be in the Wembley dressing room. Then I think there was 4 or 5 single baths, you know, then the big bath, it was shouting, and it was unbelievable. And you just think of the people that had been there before you, and what it meant to everybody that played there. It was just, yeah, it was second to none.
Were we in the home? Do you remember? Were we in the home dressing room or the away dressing room?
Very confident we were, yeah.
In the home dressing room.
Yeah, we were.
Very confident we were.
Yeah. Okay. So, Colin, as you said, you'd returned from a season with Harrow. When did you find out that you'd be playing that night?
I think they named the team at the ground when we met at the ground, and you know, I knew all the lads because I'd played with them, Ian and Dermot and Dave, you know, for seasons before that. I think Ian had been with the club. That was his second season, wasn't it, for the cup final? So I knew everybody, familiar, you know, and they were familiar with me, and I was familiar with them. And I think it was at the ground that I got the nod over Mickey, which of course was fantastic for me personally. And as Dave said, I think you had to control your emotions a little bit by going into the ground, because you try not to play the occasion, you know, because it's difficult. It's easy to become overwhelmed with, as Dave was saying, and I was the same. You know, the people that have been in the dressing room and walked the hallowed turf and all that sort of stuff. You then got to try and focus upon what you're there to do, which is just a game of football, basically. But yeah, we managed to do that, I think, as a team, and you know, came out the other end with a victory. So that was terrific.
How did Mickey Kylie take it? Because obviously, I guess he was hoping, expecting to play, and then suddenly you've returned out the blue, maybe. And how was he?
I think he was okay. I mean, he's clearly disappointed, but you know, throughout that previous season, you know, Ian had joined the club and clearly was number one when he joined, and it was scoring goals for fun. And it was then a question of who accompanied him up front, whether it was me or Mickey. So you know, we would yo-yo in and out of the team to keep Ian company, and it just so happened that I got the nod on the day. But you know, we still, as you know, we still keep in touch, all the lads of that sort of era, and it pops up in conversation every now and again.
Well, you got the chance to play, and obviously you did. The teams were led out by manager, or our team at Hendon were led out by their manager, Mickey James, who sadly passed away. What are your recollections of him?
Mickey started me off in my career at Barking. When I first met Mickey, he was with Peter Carey at Barking. Kevin Hitchcock was in goal for Barking, and I got taken on because they knew he was going pro. And I got taken on to replace him. So I've known Mickey since I was 20, 21. And obviously I went to Walthamstow Avenue from Barking. Mickey went to Hendon, and it was through Mickey and Ted, obviously I got taken to Hendon. So yeah, Mickey was a big thing in my football career. He was in it a lot.
Any particular recollections, reminiscences about him?
Just his character. He was just a lovely fella. He was a genuinely lovely fella. And we played, something's just come into my head, I don't know why, but we played in a friendly, and he actually played in the game, and he put the number 11 shirt on, and he went, "Roode, have a look at this." And he turned around, and instead of the 11 being like that, it was like that because of his size. And it was just a good character.
And I guess he must have been as thrilled as the rest of you. How many managers at a non-league level, at any level, get the chance to lead their teams out onto the hallowed turf?
Exactly. He would have done. He would have felt just as proud, and it would have been a big moment for him as well, without a doubt.
Okay, so finally we kind of get to the action. It's a game we're expected to win on paper, I think, because we're playing at a high level. And midway through the first half, Phil Gridley, great player, Dermot Drummie, who of course is an outstanding player, and we'll talk a bit more about Dermot in a minute, did the spade work for the first goal, finished off by Ian Dowie. As I said earlier, Ian scored in every round, seemed to score in almost every game he played, and is probably the best known player, one of the best known players ever to play for and then leave the club. Richard, what were your thoughts on Ian as a player? How good was he? Ruchi, how good was a player? Any time when you're ready, Ruchi, it's fine. I'll do it. How good a player was Ian Dowie?
Oh, he was a very good player, and he worked so hard. I mean, we would come off the training pitch, and he would still be running up and down the stand. He always done the extra bit. He put a lot of it. He deserved to get where he got out of sheer effort, and he was an absolute presence. And I think he deserves everything he got, to be fair, because he worked at it. His attitude was spot on, and it was something that he wanted, and he was. Yeah, I mean, he obviously just scoring the amount of goals he scored for us, in, like as you said, in every round he scored. That's how good he was.
And Colin, as a kind of fellow striker, what did you see in him?
Well, I think when Ian first came to Hendon, he was a bit of a big blonde lump, and then he said, in conversation that he wanted to go turn professional. I thought, how the heck are you going to turn professional? But I have to say, looking back, he's he had all the physical capabilities, but he's the most improved player in such a short space of time that I've ever come across. And as Dave said, he used to go over the park with his dad Bob and do extra shuttles, extra training sessions. I remember we played at Hayes one night and in a midweek game, and I think Reggie Leather was playing and what have you. And he received the ball his back to, on the byline, and he turned inside and he just clipped a ball with his left foot right across the pitch, inch perfect. And that was the first time I really noticed he had a left foot. But he'd been working, and as Dave said, been working so hard to actually accomplish what he did. And he just seemed to, just grow in confidence, and he knew he was going to score, likely to score and which he did. He pretty much rose above the level that we were playing at, clearly, and then he was taken on by Luton Town.
You always remember with Ian, he was a great player, and you always remember with Ian that his dad would come and watch him. His mum came and watched all the games. Yeah. I can't remember whether it was his girlfriend or at the time or sister came, but it was Ian playing for Hendon. It was very much a kind of family affair because everybody would come and support him. It was brilliant.
Yeah, It was. There were a lot of, there were a lot of families. I mean, my parents used to come and watch me play. Dermot's family used to come and watch them play.
Yeah.
So there was a large sort of family contingent in the stand, and I think that was a testament to the club that it was. It was a very family orientated club, which made everybody knit together and stick together, which filtered through to the way that we played, I think.
So we're 1-0 up. What was the kind of feeling? There weren't. I think we'd had one or two other chances. I think Ian Dowie had gone close. They'd had a chance or two. What's the kind of feeling at that point? Were we comfortable? Do you remember?
Yeah, I think we were comfortable from what I remember of it. It never seemed a problem. We knew we were there on merit. We'd looked forward to it. We were confident. Everything seemed to be right. Right from the start, we put them under pressure. I think on the clip, the keeper pulled out a decent save from Dowie, took the couple of crosses, but we were putting them under pressure a lot. And I think that we showed that extra little bit why we were playing a higher level. We showed that we were that little bit better. And, we pushed them back and kept them back.
But when you're only 1-0 up, anything can happen. And it wasn't till 4 minutes from the end when we secured it. And a certain Roode keeper started the move. Go on then, talk us through it.
Oh, that magnificent goal kick, because I could ping the ball.
That'd be the one.
What are you laughing at, Tate?
Nothing.
I'm renowned for my pinging the ball.
Carry on. Push on through, Dave.
So I knew that someone would flick it on just outside the 18-yard box. And then it just went through to Dermot. It was Dermot, wasn't it? Yes.
It was Dermot, yeah.
Went through to Dermot and he done what he was best at.
We've spoken about a couple of times, guys, when you've been able to come up to Silver Jubilee Park, when we've been able to play a game and to remember Dermot. But while we're doing this, it's a good opportunity to talk about him again. I mean, he was genuinely, I thought, an outstanding player.
Without a doubt, and an outstanding character, and he was loved by everyone. It's such a difficult thing to take to understand why he did what he did. However, it is, there's obviously more to people than what you can see. But yeah, I mean, he was a great player. He obviously had a great mind as well. What he'd done at Chelsea, what he'd done with the youth team and reserve team at Chelsea. I think he won the FA Cup final with them. The youth side of it, and he was a very, very good technical boy.
Colin, can you pick out a funny moment about Dermot for us?
Oh, Dermot was he was because I then, late in my latter years, I sort of played at Wealdstone for 2 years in the Southern Premier League with Dermot. We ground shared at Vicarage Road with Watford. And Dermot was there for 2 or 3 seasons. But, he was funny, he was intelligent. If there was anything going on in the change room, he'd be the centre of it. He was just a hugely positive, funny guy to be around. And as Dave said, he started as a black cabbie driver. And then he took his badges, and then he started at the youth team at Arsenal. I think Liam Brady asked him to go because he was a youth team player there. And then he had a huge amount of success. Then he got pinched by Mourinho to go to manage the under-23s at Chelsea. And I remember going over to St Albans City for a pre-season friendly, where he took the Chelsea team over there. And you could just see the reaction of everybody loved him to bits. They could relate to him. He empathised with people. He was just such a lovely guy, and such a loss that he's now not around anymore, which is amusing, really, because it's difficult to get into the head of somebody that is clearly, struggling mentally. But no, he was a terrific guy, ever so friendly. Great impressions of Ted Hardy and anybody else, in the changing room. He was. I just remember him very fondly. Really fondly.
So he scored a great goal. Game over. We've won 2-0. So Roger Wade was Hendon captain that night. Must have been a tremendous thrill for him, I guess, lifting the cup. But second in line, Mr. Roode, there you are, hogging the glory with him.
Absolutely. That's how it runs, isn't it? It's skipper than the keeper. That's the name of the game. That's what you do. Yeah, absolutely. It was just walking up them steps was amazing. I mean, it's obviously we're all. I mean, there was I think it was nearly 4,000 people there, which in Wembley isn't a lot. However, if it was at Hendon, 4,000 would have been, huge. But when you walk up them steps where all the crowd was, it was just something. Once again, like you was when you walked out on the pitch, walking up the steps, especially as a winner and a clean sheet. I don't want to say that again. So yeah, it was amazing.
And for you, Colin, climbing the Wembley steps, and
it was just bizarre, because you just got a taste of what it would be like. And in fact, I went on a corporate day back to Wembley a few years later, and they put a replica of the FA Cup on where you walk up the steps, and I was I recollected walking up there with Dave and the other lads at that time, and think, well, I've been here before. It's strange. You think, what am I doing here? No, it was wonderful, absolutely wonderful. You just feed off it. You feed off that experience and still feed off it, years later. Lovely.
So you're then on the pitch celebrating. I suppose if you're doing a lap of honour, you would have been doing it mostly to yourselves because there wasn't really anybody in most of the ground, just in that little section. So you got the car. What was the mood like in the dressing room afterwards?
Amazing. Just amazing because you've won. You're at Wembley. You're in the dressing room at Wembley. It's just it was just fantastic. Everything you think it would be, it was.
Yeah. So there was no celebrations at Wembley. It was all back on the bus and back to Claremont Road. Do you remember that?
Not too much, to be fair. I don't.
Is that because you weren't sober, Roode, or what?
No, I'm always sober. Where's that rumour come from? I was a great kicker and then never drunk.
So it was a memorable night. So listen, before we wrap up, what I thought we'd just do is I'm going to ask you, Roode, to describe in one word half the Hendon team that night, and Tate, I'm going to ask you in one word to describe the other half. All right? I won't ask you to describe yourself, Mr. Roode.
Okay.
Because clean sheet is 2 words, and you've said it enough already.
Okay.
Erskine Smart.
Erskine, yeah, solid.
Mark Furno.
Love Mark Furno. Does a. Oh, you want one word, don't you?
That's all right. You can use more than one. It's fine.
I can really. He was a good solid. Once again, I think solid's the one word I'd use for all my back four on that day.
Roger Wade, captain.
Yeah, great. Led by example.
Andy Smith came on to replace him with 15 minutes to go.
Yeah, underestimated. He was a good player. He sort of was sub a lot, but he was a good player. Pretty underestimated, Andy.
Hendon legend, Alan Campbell.
Legend.
Mr. Tate, Phil Gridley.
Quick.
Dermot.
Fantastic cross of a ball, intelligent.
Neil Henry. We don't really talk about him ever.
Neil Henry, he's committed.
Ian Dowie.
Brilliant.
Neil Wolstenholme.
Eki, solid, as Dave said. Reliable.
And I've got to throw this one in. He was on the bench. Mick Kiley.
Oh, funny as hell.
Good lad.
Yeah.
So listen, I mean, those were some of the great names that some Hendon fans will remember going back, I think, 33 years. Heaven help us. Thank you. Listen, guys, thank you so much for joining us. It was a special night for us sitting in the stand watching, and even more special for you guys playing in it. And I guess, was that the only time either of you ever played at Wembley?
Yeah, it was for me. The one and only. And yeah. So with you?
Yeah, first and last. But a wonderful experience. wonderful experience and great to tell everybody that asks, ever played at Wembley? You say yes, and they expect you to say no. Happy days.
Guys, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Steve. Been a pleasure.
Okay.